And welcome to another edition of Currently in Quincy. I'm Joe Catalano, and today we are focusing on scams. This is National Consumer Protection Week, so we're going to teach you how to identify scams, what to do if you are scammed, and how to prevent yourself from becoming a victim. We have representatives from 3 different groups under the State Attorney General's office that will be joining us shortly to talk about that. First, though, as always, we take a look at the weather and the news for you. Currently in Quincy, kind of gray and damp. It's 32 degrees right now. The precipitation has come to an end, but it really won't clear out much today. Lots of clouds around, very raw with temperatures only in the mid to upper 30s this afternoon. Kind of steady temperatures this evening. Might be some patchy fog tonight. Lows drop off into the lower 30s, and kind of a gray day tomorrow as well. Some morning fog, some afternoon clouds, a little milder with highs tomorrow into the mid 40s. A little milder still on Sunday with some showers in the morning. High Sunday into the mid 50s. And look at Monday. Gorgeous. Lots of sunshine, mild temperatures, 60 degrees, even warmer Tuesday and Wednesday. So we need to get through these next couple of days before the feel of spring in the air. 32 degrees and cloudy in Quincy right now. Checking out the news for you today, the Quincy City Council's Finance Committee will be discussing a request from Mayor Thomas Koch to approve over $2.64 million to purchase new chemical-free firefighter turnout gear during a meeting that will be happening on March 16th. This week, the council placed the item into committee as required by law for proper public notification. Mayor Koch says he fully anticipated that would happen and says it's critical that firefighters get the new gear as soon as possible.
Well, I would think they would understand that I feel the same way.
Right.
I mean, we're going through a major effort after finding, what we thought in the last set of gear would have been okay, but these forever chemicals, they're cancer causing, and it's a problem. So we have done extensive work on and research on the manufacturing process. The union, Tom Bowes and his crew, the department, the chief and his crew, they've done incredible work on it. So yeah, we're not going to accept anything unless it's completely chemically free of cancer-causing agents.
Mayor says the firefighters union has found a manufacturer that makes chemical-free turnout gear that could be in the city within 6 to 8 weeks. In the meantime, the city is pursuing legal action against the provider of the current firefighter gear, which was marketed as being free of cancer-causing chemicals. Quincy City Council is poised to approve a new measure that would strengthen the powers of the city auditor. The Ordinance Committee is expected to approve the measure proposed by Council President Ann Mahoney at a future meeting. Mahoney says the goal is to provide the auditor with easier access to the city's financial status, which can then be shared with the public.
This changed back in 2008. I wasn't on the council then, I was in the school committee, but I did pay attention to it back then. And it didn't pass unanimously. It was a 5-4 vote. So 4 of the councilors voted against it. And it was one of those things and we've lost a lot of those former, not the councilors, but we lost a lot of the former mayors that would also talk to me about that, saying that really weakens the council and it's a real check and balance for the city. And then there were several of them, Laurier, Macaulay, several of them talked to me about it, talked to the councilors about it. But it's been working since 2008, and now it's 2026, and we're just looking to get a little bit more balance back. And I think that's why we saw, quite honestly, the change of guard in the council, because people are looking for more understanding of what's happening.
Mahoney says that ordinance does not need mayoral approval to be enacted. Well, the city's response to the 2 major snowstorms that occurred in January and February took center stage at this week's City Council meeting. DPW Commissioner Al Grazioso and Superintendent Larry Prendeville outlined their process for snow plowing and snow removal operations after some councilors said they heard from some residents who were not happy with the city's efforts. Ward 3 Councilor Walter Hubley relayed a story explaining how different people reacted to the same situation.
So I took a drive around after one of the storms. I think it was the first one. And it's more just to illustrate a point. So I went, I think it might have been Willow, I can't remember. It was somewhere on the border of Ward 5 and Ward 3. And I drove down a street and I pulled over because I saw someone shoveling out their front walk-in driveway. And I asked him, I rolled down the window and said, introduce myself. And he remembered me from knocking on his door. And I said, hey, how's it going here? How's the snow removal? And he's like, oh, beautiful. It was just, this is great. I'm very happy with the way this worked out. I'm like, oh, that's good to hear. And I, no kidding, drove 1 block down, same exact street, same exact conditions, no discernible difference from my perspective. And I asked another gentleman who was out shoveling, I said, what do you think? How'd they do? And he's like, oh my God, will you look at this? This is terrible, right? So it's sort of sometimes in the eye of the beholder, and it's sometimes about where your expectations are. So if you're expecting to see cleared ground and, everything completely cleared and so forth, I think you'd be disappointed. But I think if you have an expectation of being able to successfully navigate a sidewalk, I think then your needs are probably satisfied.
Officials said they were challenged by the amount of snow combined with water main breaks, some flooding, and power outages. Mayor Thomas Koch previously said that a contractor that would have provided 40 pieces of snow removal equipment opted out of the city this year. Mayor estimates the total cost of snow removal so far this winter is approaching $6 million. Quincy City Council looking for information about how the city spent over $46 million that it received from the Federal American Rescue Plan to help recover the city from the pandemic. This past week, Ward 6 Councilor Deborah Riley, chair of the Finance Committee, introduced a resolution seeking transparency for the money.
Therefore, let it be resolved that the Quincy City Council formally requests that the administration provide a full public accounting to the council regarding the funding the city received through ARPA and a full and final accounting of ARPA expenditures. So this order was actually previously introduced by Councilor Anthony Andronico on February 14th, 2022, and referred to the Finance and Oversight Committees by unanimous vote. There is no record of it being deliberated in either committee when that council term ended in December 2023.
Now, the administration previously issued a spreadsheet of how the funds were dispersed, including $15 million to purchase the Monroe Building in Quincy Center. Other funds were distributed for overtime pay, for school improvements, and to numerous social service agencies, community groups, and religious organizations to help them recover from the pandemic. Riley's resolution was placed into the Finance and Oversight Committees. Well, the Hale Family YMCA here in Quincy recently held their very own Lunar New Year celebration. Hundreds of people enjoyed some live entertainment, including the traditional lion dance, along with a wide variety of food offerings and family activities. The new South Shore YMCA president and CEO, Trevor Williams, said the Y joined in with Quincy Asian Resources to celebrate the Year of the Fire Horse, a symbol of passion, strength, and bold new beginnings. Quincy Asian Resources held their own 38th annual Lunar New Year Festival in February at North Quincy High School. It's our check of news for you today. Coming up, we learn all about scams and how to prevent yourself from becoming a victim. That's next. Welcome back. We are coming off of National Consumer Protection Week. It actually runs through tomorrow. So we thought this would be a good opportunity to learn about the latest, unfortunately, in scams, what's going on, what happened if you do become a victim, and how to prevent yourself from becoming a victim. So Jean Foy from MassPIRG is back with us, our friend just down the road here in Weymouth, and she's brought two colleagues as well from different agencies, all under the umbrella of the State Attorney General's office. So welcome, Jean. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again, Joe.
And Jen Koch is here, and Robin Schwartz as well. And Jen, let's get the titles right before we get any further. Program Manager for Metro West Local Consumer Program.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And Robin, Program Manager for Worcester Consumer Rights Program.
Correct.
Okay, but all under the umbrella, Jean, of the State Attorney General's office? Is that how it works?
Yeah, the Attorney General's office has what they call a local consumer program.
Okay.
And they have 18 agencies across the state. They could be government or private, nonprofit agencies that work to assist the consumers at the grass level. So we're all in a local community. So if a consumer has a problem, they can come to a local office if they don't want to go into Boston to the Attorney General's office. And I handle Quincy, so I would be the one, if anyone who's watching this is from Quincy, they have a problem, they can call me directly, they can come to my office, I can give them advice and guidance on consumer issues.
Okay, good, good. And all the agencies are nonprofit, are they volunteer run? Or?
Oh, no.
We're located in Natick, Metro West
Okay.
Local Consumer Program, but we service 17 or 18 towns in that
I see,
area.
okay.
Natick, Framingham, Sudbury, Acton, Sherborne. And we are a nonprofit. We're part of Metro West Mediation Services.
Okay.
And so each year the program is grant funded. So it's a mix of volunteer
Gotcha.
and employees.
Employees,
I'd say.
okay.
Yes.
Same, Robin, for you?
Yeah, we're the Worcester Consumer Rights Program. The name is Worcester, but we serve almost 30 communities,
Wow.
including Worcester, mostly in the Worcester area, a few from Metro West. And we are a combination of paid part-time, and we also have 2 volunteers as
Okay.
well.
All right.
Yep.
But some of the local consumer programs are run by city government agencies.
I see.
City of Boston has one. Who else has one? New Bedford, I believe, has one. But I think we're all private nonprofits, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And all kind of
Grant funded.
arms of the Attorney General's office, right?
Yeah, we work in cooperation with
Right.
them, and we're funded by them. So our offices follow their guidelines on how to provide consumer advocacy. Everything that's filed in our office is on file with the Attorney General's office for tracking purposes. So
Yeah.
we do work in cooperation with them.
And the goal, I'm guessing, of all 3 of the organizations is consumer protection, right? To handling consumer complaints.
Yeah, we support consumers in their complaints and issues with businesses.
Okay.
And it's a free service, so it's a court avoidance, and it's just support. And it also, I would say, it also helps local businesses, right? Because they can avoid further disputes and going to court over things as well.
Sure.
So
Try and
it's a community service.
mediator, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Come to
yeah.
a
And we also try to do education.
Yes.
Because there are sort of those teaching moments when you're talking to a consumer and maybe they are in a problem with a card purchase.
It's a good
and
example,
Maybe
sure,
they
yeah.
didn't have, hadn't had it checked out by a mechanic, before buying. And so, without judging them, those are good opportunities for education. We also do a lot of outreach. We do it like this, and like
Yes.
National Consumer
For example.
Local
Protection.
media
Yeah,
centers,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
folks
And
know
we're
that-
also a referral agency. We will refer people to the right place if it's an issue that we can't handle.
Yes.
For example, scams.
Okay.
We can try to handle a scam, but if it's a criminal, they're probably not going to respond to us.
Right.
So there are agencies that track and have a lot of educational material, and we can kind of direct them in the right place, point them toward like a course of action that
Yeah.
they can follow when they have a problem.
Okay, so why don't we focus on scams then
Okay.
today? Because we only have a short time, unfortunately, to talk. And as I mentioned, we're coming off National Consumer Protection Week, which, Jean, is what?
So National Consumer Protection Week started in 1998, and the Federal Trade Commission decided that they wanted to take a week where they got together federal, state, and local consumer agencies to empower consumers and let them know what their rights are.
Okay.
They do tend to focus a lot on scams because that does seem to be a big problem, identity theft, fraud, scams, and we just all the agencies take that week to get out in the community and hold events and publish information. It's just a great way to make consumers aware of what their rights are.
So let's talk about what you're seeing, Jean, in our area in terms of scams. Right now, what do people need to be aware of?
So, we had the storm recently.
Yeah.
So a scam that I saw was a lot of people on Facebook, on social media, were looking for people to plow their driveways.
Sure.
And they would say, I need you to come plow my driveway. And then they get a message from a plow company saying, we can do it, but we need X amount of dollars to get you on the list.
Yep.
People would send them the money through a payment provider, Zelle, something like that, and then the person wouldn't show up. There was even one instance where someone was a little bit savvy, and she said, I need to have my driveway plowed, but I'm not home. The plow person said, send me a picture of your driveway, I'll give you a quote. She did. Later, he sent her a picture, same picture that she sent him, but he used AI to remove all the snow, and he said, job's done, send me the money.
Yeah.
Money.
She looked and she noticed her car was still in the picture. He forgot to take the car out. That was the only reason why she knew that she was being scammed.
Yep. Yep.
So, there's a lot out there.
Yeah, it's frustrating and scary to
Yeah.
think, right? Because
And they
that's-
latch onto emergencies and situations like
in
that.
family situations as well, you know. But that example you just gave, that was all electronically, you know, mediated. So
Yes.
there was no
there was no
face-to-face contact.
There was no plow company.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was all done online.
Could they have gotten that money back if they had been scammed out of it?
Probably not.
Yeah. Right.
If you can't find the person, you can't get the money back.
Right, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's done. Yeah. Jen, how about from your perspective in the Metro West area?
We haven't had that particular issue. That's egregious. I've noticed actually kind of the opposite, face-to-face scams
Really?
or high-pressure door-to-door sales.
Oh, see, I thought that would be the one area where we could finally have some control.
Right. Well, you can. There is a way.
Okay.
So it's typically home improvement. It's also, you know, alternative energy proposals.
Yes.
You know, sign up for this plan for this
Yes.
25-year contract.
Let me just see your utility bill, right? So I can sign you
I'll
up.
sign you right. Sign on this dotted line.
Yeah.
You know, this will just take a minute, and then you'll have all these savings, and you'll help the earth. And so a lot of the same things. You know, high pressure situations, things to watch out for.
Yeah.
You know, someone who can only take payment in cash. A lot of times that people are approached. You know, we're working in your neighborhood, so really only today, tomorrow can we do this work for you. And we notice that your walkway is crumbling.
Sense of urgency.
Yeah, sense of urgency. And, you know, again, we would just recommend to people to take your time. If it's something like that, you want to get other quotes, you want to check references, you want to find out if they're licensed and insured. And you also, you know, a lot of municipalities now have do not knock lists that you can sign up for. So you can notify them, I do not want any solicitors to come to my door.
Good to know.
Yeah, and then when those people register, become authorized solicitors, they're to be given a list of these addresses that they're not supposed to approach.
Okay.
Another point I wanted to just share is that there's also a 3-day cooling off period. So if you do sign a contract with someone at your door, you do have 3 days to, you know, cool down, and sort of if you rethink that or if there's a problem, you can go ahead and cancel.
Do they have to disclose that at the time?
They do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a built-in protection for
Okay.
people who are
Good.
approached at their door.
Sure.
Yeah. So that's the in-person. There's plenty of, you know, online scams going on as
For
well.
certain. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Robin, how about in the
Yeah.
Worcester area?
Yeah, a lot of what Jen was talking about, you know, when you're talking about people saying, especially not maybe now, but, you know, come spring, summer, the paving, that's a big one. And what Jen was saying, oh, I'm in your area, what that gives people, I think, a sort of a sense of, well, they weren't my neighbors and everything was okay there,
Yeah.
like this sort of safety, illusion of safety.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've seen the same kinds of things, and the solar is a big one, as Jen was talking about. So we get people who say, well, someone came to my door and they told me I was never going to have to pay another electric bill, another utility bill, and that's not the case. You know, they're paying more, or they found out that now, after 25 years, the term of the loan for the solar system is huge amount of money that they didn't expect, or that they were going to get. They were told they were going to get tax credits that they never got. So we see a lot of that. We were talking before the show about a couple of us have seen a situation where one of my colleagues worked with a consumer who and it was a vulnerable population, and someone came to the door and was pushing for some kind of sale, and this consumer held back and said, no, I'm not going to do it, and had to keep saying that a couple of times. And then finally the person who had come to the door said, well, can you just sign this thing to show that, you know, I've been here, so my boss knows I did the work. You know, they kind of appeal to that. You know, you're like, oh, well, I don't want this person to get in trouble.
Right.
You know, they appeal to that.
Yeah.
So she signed it. It turned out she was signing a contract,
Oh, gosh.
not I've been here for work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but our colleague was able to get her out of the contract.
Okay.
You know, but.
So are there, you know, in listening to all these stories, are there kind of common denominators, if you will, or common red flags with any type of scam that folks should be aware of, you know, that puts their sense of alert up and says, well, wait a minute, you know, let's just hold on here a second. What are some things that folks should look for?
Number one, that sense of urgency.
Okay.
Like, if someone's pressuring you to do it right now, it's a scam.
Yep.
There's never a reason why you need to do anything in that exact moment. if they don't give you an opportunity to verify, to get other estimates, you need to walk away.
Okay.
Yeah, and have a little tougher skin, because I've had people say, well, you know, I gave them all the money up front because
Yep.
they told me that they needed the money because, you know, their car broke down, and they go through the contractor went through this whole story, and so they give them, instead of the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 rule, they give them everything, and of course the contractor disappears. So maybe a little like I know it's nice to have empathy for our friends and neighbors and
Everybody
things,
wants to
but,
be a nice person, right?
Yeah, but you know there is that trying to be a little
So
bit
practice
more
saying no.
cynical.
Yeah.
Right.
Practice it, like,
I mean,
assert
Yeah.
yourself. No.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
No, it's a good
Or,
point, yeah.
No, let me think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know, and if somebody isn't going to let you think about it, that should be a red flag.
So,
Right.
okay, so I'm going to tell you, Robin, I'm going to think about it. So you're going to come back and say, okay, when should I come back?
Right, right.
So you're, I mean, any type of aggressive,
Right,
form
and that
like
again
yeah.
is a red flag.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, and it is tricky because sometimes it's very convincing. You know, like these in-person scams. We had a case where somebody was approached at their doorstep, and they said, you know, your roof looks like it's deteriorating in the back. We really ought to check it out. And then they went down this path of, oh, we found additional damage, and they kept, and there was a large amount of money, and there was no good intentions involved. So, you know, you get concerned. My roof, you know, the safety of my home, and so. It's people are sophisticated, unfortunately, and the same thing with the technology scams. You know, there's voice cloning now, and people. You know, there's even scams. You know, the grandparent scam. Maybe that's died down a little bit, but
Yeah.
people
I don't think it
calling
has.
it hasn't.
No.
Have you
No.
been hearing about
Well,
that?
I honestly think with the current events, with kidnapping, it's going to bring it back up
Yeah.
to the surface. They've also done a twist on it, where it's a pet, that they look at the lost pet on social media, and then they say, I found your pet. He's in emergency services. We need money to get him out, or you need to pay this so they can do the service. So they're changing it. They're making it better with the voice cloning. It's more believable. But the pet one is just a take on it. They keep twisting it and changing
Right.
it.
It's preying on your emotions, right?
It is.
And your sense of
Absolutely.
urgency. It's,
Right.
it's really exasperating to hear these stories
Yeah.
because the technology is getting so much better. Voice cloning, picture altering. Unless you're like we are right here, right now,
Right.
face to face, in person, able to talk and look eye to eye.
Yeah.
How do you know? How
Right.
do how do you know for certain?
Yeah, I
you
think
you really don't.
The
right?
rule of
Yeah.
thumb is if it's digital,
Yeah.
voice, picture, image,
Yeah. Yeah.
assume it's a fake.
Okay.
And look at it and verify through a verifiable source.
Right. Right. Always
Just-
go back to that
Yep.
original source. You know.
Right.
Right. If you get a letter from Social Security Administration saying you can download your statement, don't click that link. Go to the Social Security Administration website that you've already pre-verified and written down somewhere,
Right.
or you look at a statement that you have and see if there's some way. A lot of times, like the Social Security Administration, they'll have fraud alerts right up on their websites
Sure.
if they know what's going on. Unless you're the first one who got that scam, there's probably something out there warning you that it's a scam.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Easy Drive. You know, Easy Drive Mass.
That
That's
was
a
a
big
common
one.
one, yeah. So pause, think, verify.
Yeah.
right?
Yes, and I think it's also helpful if you even reach out to a friend or your neighbor or your sibling.
Somebody you
I
trust,
just got
yeah.
this call. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
And then they might help you kind of unwind it, and
Yeah.
just that extra few minutes
Yeah.
could be
It
helpful.
sounds like maybe a good rule of thumb is if you didn't initiate the contact, if you didn't make a call yourself, or if you didn't send a letter yourself, if you're being cold called or cold lettered or cold door knocked,
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
be careful.
Right. Any unexpected communication,
Yeah, be
pause.
careful.
Yep.
Right.
And a lot of, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
A lot of the businesses now are saying, I get emails or I see it on the website, they're saying, we will never ask you for,
Yeah.
and they list all those confidential
Yeah.
things just to keep, they're trying to educate people.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
We'll have a couple of minutes left, but I do want
Yeah.
to talk about the shame factor. I
Yes,
think it's important
yes.
to point out that if you do become a victim, and
Right.
anybody can,
Yes.
we're all
Absolutely.
vulnerable, but you're ashamed to talk about it. That can perpetuate that, right, Robin?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've had people say to me, I've worked in the police department for 40 years
Right.
before I retired and I still fell for it. And there is so much of that shame, that self-blame, and and especially people who are older, they're afraid their family members are going to make financial decisions about them. And but we're all making the same mistakes. We get in a hurry, we get fooled, and it can happen to anybody.
Right.
Absolutely. Anybody.
So the opposite, talk about it, tell
about
people
it.
about the scam
Yep.
so that they don't fall for that scam. Also, try to stay informed. The FTC has consumer alerts you can sign up for. The BBB has a scam tracker. If you're on social media, use that for your own good. Try to see what's going on in the world so that you know, and a light bulb will go off when
Sure.
you're approached with something.
Sure. Jen, anything else you'd like to add?
I actually did sign up for that FTC
Okay.
consumer alert. You get, I think it's a weekly email, and it's all the trends that are going on. It's really helpful. It's helpful because we're in this field, but it's also
Yeah.
helpful to know about and kind of just stay on guard, and talk about it.
Knowledge is power. right?
Knowledge is
Yeah, for
power,
sure.
yes.
Thank you all. I hope we shed some light on the issue for folks, and if nothing else, have them reach out and try and get more information.
Yeah.
Yes.
you very much.
Thank you so much for having
You're
us.
very welcome. Check the forecast for you for the rest of the day today. Kind of what you see is what you get out there. It's kind of gray, it's kind of damp, and it's kind of raw and chilly with temperatures in the upper 30s today, low 30s tonight. A little better tomorrow. At least it'll be a little warmer. Still kind of cloudy. Warmer still on Sunday with some morning showers. But then Monday, sunny, 60, springtime. At least it'll feel like it for a little while, so enjoy that. Thanks again to Jean Foy, Jen Koch, and Robin Schwartz for joining us today on the program.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you to our crew, and thank you for watching this coming Monday. Tim Cahill from the South Shore Chamber of Commerce is stopping by. Meantime, check our website anytime, qatv.org. All of our latest programs are there. There's news and information, video on demand, live streaming, much more. Don't forget, we spring ahead this weekend, too. For all of us here at QATV, I'm Joe Catalano. Have a great weekend.